Welcome to Road to Race. I thought today I might just try something a little bit different, and that's have a little bit of a walk through the workshop, talk about some of the projects I'm working on at the moment. Some of these cars are quite interesting. I've got a couple of VN Commodores here. It's always good to have you'll be working on some old V8s. There's a ute there that I've got some restoration work on. But I thought first of all might have a chat about this Commodore of John Howes. John's car came to me last year for basically a suspension setup, but at the time the car was quite run down. And in the end, after the suspension setup, I took it on board to try and improve this car. First of all, it was just trying to make it reliable again. It was John was having a lot of troubles just finishing sessions, and I mean that's not what it's all about. You want to go down and race all day. But John was finding that after a couple of sessions there was always problems, and after 4 or 5 years, he wasn't enjoying his race anymore. So the first step was just to make the car reliable again. It was throwing belts, so we had to look at different pulley setups. It was to get the car serviced, the fluids changed, just have a good look over it. It was actually getting quite dangerous. There was a lot of work in the suspension that needed to be done, and so we worked on it for a couple of sessions. And then in the end, I went down with John to Eastern Crete, and all of a sudden we had the car circulating. And both days before Christmas, John finished both sessions. So now it was time to get into the car. And John got the bug. He wants more. So we're going to modify the suspension further and seeing if we can really make this old Commodore go around corners. So this time around, we've brought it back in through Suspension Concepts. I fitted some used suspension front strut tops. We found that we certainly didn't have enough camber and caster in this car, so this should help us in that regard. But that's not all. But first of all, this is the engine in the car. It's a 355 stroker V8. It's very highly modified. It's cammed up. It's making a lot of power. So we want to be able to, we've got to harness that power, get it to the ground through grip, and we've got to make this car turn well also. So as you can see, this car was had a lot of work done on it years ago. John's passionate about the car. It has a full cage. As you can see, it has a great setup, gauges, race seat, and it means business. Look, it's not a real competitive car anymore. It's a fun car, but it's certainly capable of doing some quite respectable time still. So what I'm going to do now is put the car in the air and just have a little bit of a look at underneath at some of the work that I've been doing. So I might just grab a torch. It's not complete yet. I've still got another couple of days work to go on this one. So it's a tidy car. It's a fun car, and as I say, it sounds absolutely fantastic going down the main straight of Eastern Crete with the echo of the V8 through the grandstands. So up we go. Another car that I've got behind there is John Sard's Commodore, which we'll have a look at. So here we go. This car still runs the standard Group A V8 caliper, which is the Corvette caliper back in its day, probably a little bit under braked. But I am now running T3 rotors, and I'm trying the Bendix race pads, and that so far they're working quite well. I'll just put this on the lock. So underneath here, this time around I'm running some adjustable caster strut rods. All the bushings have been replaced, serviced the sway bars, the links have been replaced, the wheel bearings have been serviced. This car does run a big ASR sump to stop oil surge, which is a massive problem in these cars. So is fuel surge, which this car has a surge tank. As you can see, this car does run a twin side pipe exhaust, which really does give it the great sound. The great old Holden V8 sound. So if we walk down the back here, last week I rebuilt the brake calipers. It's still running standard brakes on the rear, but it now has just given the ultimate brake pads a go, Bendix Ultimate and the DBA T3 rotors. Another bit of a modification we've done here is this car was running a coilover type rear shock, but I felt it was placing a lot of load on the lower original shock mount, so I've basically taken the coilover spring off and I've put it back to where it belongs in its original place with a height adjuster. So that now we'll do all our adjustments from there with ride heights and corner weight balance. There's been some bushing replacements also. The lower trailing arm rears are replaced. It's already got adjustable upper arms, which we'll do pinion angle from. That's them there. Sway bar links have been done. So we're not too far away now from getting this one onto the 4-poster and doing the setup, but it's still running the standard brake lines, which was completely inadequate now, and they were very old. So I've had some braided lines made up. I've still got one more to go. Previous, this car was running fairly heavy spring rates. It had a 750 front and 400 rear, and it was just destroying grip. So my recommendations would be always start soft in your springs. You'll always find that you get more mechanical grip on the bumpy tracks we have with softer springs. Maybe work with your sway bars and your shocks before you go too heavy in the spring rates, because you'll just never get a car to grip. A strong emphasis on using torque wrenches on all the race cars, take away any doubts. So that's basically John Howe's VN race car. Over here, here's another VN that I've done a lot of work to. This is John Sard's VN Commodore. Started off with doing a suspension, set up this car a few years ago now. And one of the latest jobs I've done is rebuild the motor, and it's got a 355 stroker. It's got a comb crank, comb I-beam rods, forged pistons. It's got the star manifold on it, exhaust, and at the moment it's still a bit underdeveloped where it just needs a bit of sorting out, but it's going quite well. This car actually holds the naturally aspirated V8 record at Marula Driver Training Centre, which is not too bad considering it's a big heavy car to be hurling around such a short track. We have to improve the crankcase breathing systems, otherwise they just pump oil out straight back into the manifold at high revs. So we do that through fittings on top of the rocker cover. This one just goes into a catch can. It's not, because it's a street car, it's not open to the atmosphere. We still run it in close and it's working fine. Fuel surge is a big problem with John's car here. We chose to run a modified fuel tank, which I'll put the camera under the back. This fuel tank is a long-range tank, but most importantly, it does have. It does have an internal surge tank, because it was just losing fuel in the turns, and now that problem's been solved. So another very sleeker looking car, no aero, just John, that's just the way John likes it. Just look very standard, but delivers on the track. Another car that's been bought to me this year is Matt's Ute. As you can see, a lot of work to do this one. It's a long story about it. I took it on because I got involved in the process with this car a few years ago. I got to fit it the motor. It'll have to be, this is once again is a 355 Group A VN V8. And it's going to take a lot of work to get this one back up and running, but the parts are all here. I've just got to make a start. So the motor's here. I'm going to take a walk through the workshop. The motor was built by Freycraft in Melbourne, and here it is. It's the Group A VN 4-bolt main, Group A manifold, stroker 355. Apparently it's on the dyno, it's been putting out over 500 horsepower with a carby. So now we've got to get it all running with the Group A manifold, and it's probably going to be one nice bit of gear. That's just a view of the workshop at Road to Race. And at the last one I'd like to look at today is just a little Hyundai XL race car that I've been preparing basically for Road to Race. Unfortunately, due to commitment to other clients' cars, I've been a little bit slow getting it finished. It's got the motor complete, some suspension and brake work complete, and at the moment I'm just working on in fitting out the interior, which is quite advanced. So it's been all the sound deadening's out, AGI cage, race seat harness, battery, dry cell battery relocated, isolator, battery isolator, panel, remote starter, ignition switch, gauges. So we're not too much to go here, but I've just got to keep working at it, and hopefully I'll find a bit of time soon to really make some ground on it. So that's a little bit about what's going on in Road to Race at the moment. I enjoy some of these interesting cars, and I feel blessed to be able to have these people bring these cars to me. So maybe I might do another video like this again instead of just photos, just to let you know what I'm up to. So now it's just up to me to get back into work tomorrow and start trying to get some of these cars out the door. Thank you for watching.